In previous session, we have discussed how to work with the package management systems, that's PMS, uh, to install, update, or remove software from the command line. Although most of the Linux distributions use fancy graphical user interface tools for software package management, you can also perform package management from the command line. And the Debian based Linux distributions use the dpkg utility to interface with the PMS from the command line. A front end to the dpkg utility is aptitude. It provides simple command line options for working with software packages in the dpkg format. On other side, the Red Hat based Linux distributions are based on the RPM utility but use the different front end tools at the command line. So Red Hat and Fedora use MYUM for installing and managing software packages. The OpenSUSE distribution uses Jipper for managing software, while Mandriva distribution uses URPM. So finally, so now this session closed with a discussion on how to install software packages that are only distributed in source code tarballs. The tar command allows you to unpack the source code files from the tarball and configure and make allow you to build the final executable program from the source code. In addition to that, we have seen few exercises also in the previous session. So now we'll be moving on to the a new session, that is working with editors. So before you begin your exploration of the Vim editor, it's a good idea to understand what Vim package your Linux system has installed. On some distributions, you will have the full Vim package installed and an alias for the vi command as shown on the CentOS distributions. So checking your Vim package, for that we have to use which Vim. So the basic Vim editor is now installed on this Ubuntu distribution, and the user bin va program files link was automatically changed to point to user bin vim basic. So thus when the vi command is entered on this Ubuntu system, the basic Vim editor is used instead of tiny Vim. So let's clear which Vim it is. A user bin vim, that's what. And so if you do not have a Vim in it, then what you have to do is you have to install, for example, let's take this is our CentOS, which, sorry, just a minute. Yeah, which Vim? Yeah, it doesn't have a Vim. User bin which, no Vim. So as it doesn't have a Vim, so what we can do is we can install. For that sudo is not required, yum install vim. It's installing. Meanwhile Ubuntu comes up with one vim, uh, whereas CentOS doesn't come with vim. So then in that case you have to install vim. So meanwhile the installation process takes place. Let's move on to the another thing. So next topic. So now exploring, let's begin with the exploration of basics of Vim. So if you want to write any file, how do you do that? So you have to use Vim command and then use the name of the file, then automatically it will take into that file. So all the Vim is very complicated editor with many powerful features. And there is one more editor that Nano is also widely used in it. So Nano is a very simple editor. Okay, so now Vim as Vim editor has two modes of operation. One is normal mode and second one is insert mode. So we'll see what is normal mode and insert mode while we are doing while we are working practically on the Vim. So what is a normal mode theoretically? So when you first open a file or start a new file, either opening an existing file or starting a new file for editing, the Vim editor enters a normal mode. So in normal mode, the Vim editor interprets keystrokes as commands. More on those. So in insert mode, then when you press I key, then it will be turned into insert mode. So Vim inserts every key you type at the current cursor location in the buffer. So this is called an insert mode. So to get out of the insert mode and go back into normal mode, press escape key on the keyboard. That we will do it in a seconds later. So within the command line mode are several commands for saving the buffer to the file in existing Vim. So Q to quit if no changes have been made to the buffer data, and Q exclamation mark to quit, discard any changes made to the buffer data, and W file name to save the file under a different file name, and WQ is to save buffer data to the file and quit it, and press escape to switch over to the normal mode, and press shift plus Z two times to take us back to the terminal interface. So let's get to this clear. We are in ls. There are a lot of files. Let me edit existing file, that is vim code.py. So here we have some code. So now as soon as you execute the command Vim, so it opens up Vim editor. So now it is completely normal mode. So you can move across, you type whatever you type, it doesn't take. Okay, so that's the reason it's in normal mode. Now if you want to do some editing, if you want to add some buffer data to that, then press I. So then it is gone into insert mode. So now it is time to enter data. So this is done. So now we will add a few more sentences. A for loop, you can add a for loop or while loop, or just will add a comment, just a comment, uh, additional comment. Okay, and commenting for test. Okay, so that's done. Let's escape, and then now we have many options. When you click on escape, it will take back to the normal mode. When you click on shift plus colon, it will take you to the edit mode. So in this edit mode, if you give W, it will save it. Again, if you give Q, it will quit it. If you give Q and exclamation mark, it will forcibly quit it. I'll give Q, it's been quitted. So that's how you can edit the existing file. Whereas if you want to create a new file, Vim HTML, Vim and index.html. So it's in normal mode. Click I. It is in insert mode. Now you can put some HTML tags. Any HTML tag you can put. And then after putting HTML tag, and more information, now you can press escape and Shift Z and Shift Z to close it. That's a one way. Or simply go to the extended edit mode by clicking on Shift plus colon and then say WQ to save and quit. This is another way of doing. So in this way you can uh, use your Vim effectively to edit the files and add data into the files in Linux. I use Vim widely in my work life. And we have other editors such as Nano Editor, and then for Nano Editor we use a nanos command and then myfile.txt, Emacs Editor, Emacs myfile.txt, Genome Editor, and KDE family of editors. So these are many other different editors. For although Vim is very complicated editor with many powerful features, so we have one more editor that's called Nano. Nano is a very simple editor for individuals who need a simple console mode text editor that is easy to navigate around. So Nano is the tool to use. Then we have Emacs. The Emacs editor is an extremely powerful editor that appeared before even Unix was around. So developers liked it so much that they ported it to the Unix environment, and now it is being ported to the Linux environment also. So the Emacs editor started out life as a console editor, much like VI, but it has migrated to the graphical world too. Fantastic, very good journey. Then what we have is if you're working on a Linux system using the Genome editor, Genome or Unity desktop such as Ubuntu environment, there is a graphical text editor that you can use as well. That is gedit text editor. This is for the one who use graphical user interfaces. It's not for our DevOps guys. Then finally we have KDE family of editors. So there are a couple more of editors we have. So in this session, we have taken up a few more things. There are a lot of things we have covered up. We have covered up the exercise on Vim package and how to install the Vim and how to access the Vim and how to use the Vim to create a new file and edit the existing file. And we have looked into the few more editors that are available in Linux.